You know that feeling when you're trying to get up to speed on something new, especially something
Mhm.
critical like cybersecurity platforms, just information overload, right?
Oh, yeah, it's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you get a quick but still, thorough grasp without getting totally bogged down?
It's a real challenge. And it often stops people from digging into things that are, well, pretty foundational for modern security.
Right. And that's why we're doing this today. We're taking a deep dive into the Delinea platform hearing. It's a pretty significant evolution in privileged access management, PM.
Hmm.
So our mission here is to kind of cut through that noise. We're unpacking an easy getting started guide for this platform.
Okay.
We want to look at its core features, the onboarding, the strategic parts anyway, and crucially, some of those security best practices you need right from the get-go.
Yeah, consider this your shortcut. You'll get practical insights, maybe a few surprising bits, and hopefully feel, really informed about what modern PAM looks like. It's a vital piece of the puzzle.
Okay, let's dive in. So the Delinea platform. The description says it offers a unified and comprehensive perspective on your organization's entire PAM ecosystem. That sounds big. What does that actually mean, practically speaking?
Well, it means it's not just about managing passwords in like separate little boxes. It's designed to stretch privileged access management smoothly across what they call hybrid multi-cloud infrastructures.
Okay, so that's on-prem, Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, the whole mix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of it. And it gives you adaptive controls to lock down credentials, shrink the attack surface, handle risks, and, meet compliance rules across all those different places. It's about centralizing that view and control.
That is huge because IT environments now, they're just not neat and tidy anymore, are they? They're spread out, they're complicated.
Always changing.
Yeah, constantly changing. Trying to manage access without that unified view sounds like a complete nightmare. But let's be honest, even with a unified view, what's the biggest hurdle companies still run into? Managing access across that messy, hybrid, multi-cloud reality. Are there common blind spots Delinea helps with?
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest one is often just inconsistent policy enforcement and visibility gaps. You end up with fragmented controls, right? So the rules for a privileged account in, say, AWS might be totally different from one on-prem. Different audit trails, maybe.
Right.
Delinea really aims to bridge those gaps, give you that single pane of glass to spot those inconsistencies and enforce the same security posture everywhere, no matter where the system lives.
Okay, that makes sense. So for anyone thinking about, bringing in a solution like this, that onboarding process is key. The guide makes this pretty bold claim. Easy account setup in just 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's ambitious.
How does that actually kick off? What's the very first step?
It starts pretty straightforwardly. You request a trial account through Delinea Sales, then you get a series of emails. The real focus early on is setting up your main cloud tenant and, importantly, that initial cloud admin account.
The cloud admin account.
Yeah, it gets all the foundational permissions right away. It's about locking down that root access from the start. And actually, there's a quick tip in the guide right there. Use an auto-generated password for that cloud admin account when you log in the second time.
Simple, but important. Auto-generated password.
Foundational stuff, but yeah, easily missed. It's funny how even with these advanced platforms, some basics are just non-negotiable.
Totally. So, okay, tenant is up. The guide then talks about two key account types, cloud admin and platform admin. Break down that cloud admin account for us. Why is it distinct?
Okay, so the cloud admin account, it's a local Delinea platform account. The format is like cloud admin at your platform tenant name. It's really essential for the initial setup, the provisioning, logging in to do integrations, configuring the platform itself. Think of it as the super user for the platform's core.
Got it. Super user.
And it starts with comprehensive admin rights. Full power from day one.
Then you set up your platform admin account using your regular personal domain user account. What's the immediate best practice they recommend here? Why is that separation important from like a security design perspective?
Right, this is critical. The guide says, basically, keep full permissions on that cloud admin account only until you have a solid plan to delegate specific permissions out.
Okay.
For your personal platform admin account, the one tied to your domain identity, you should immediately strip away any permissions you don't strictly need. The advice is actually to create multiple admin roles, each one tailored with very specific permissions for different tasks.
So you're applying least privilege right away.
Exactly. It's not just a nice to have, it's fundamental. It helps prevent attackers moving laterally if one account gets compromised, reduces the blast radius.
Oh.
You're building a stronger security foundation right from that first login.
So even though you start with the keys to the kingdom, the first move is to lock most of them away and only use what you need. Makes total sense. And then, presumably, you bring in your other domain users.
That's the next step. Integrating your other domain user accounts usually involves connecting to your existing identity provider like Active Directory, AD, or maybe LDAP.
Right, lightweight directory access protocol. Centralize the user management.
Precisely.
Great. So you're in, accounts are set up. Now the core features. What makes this platform actually work? Let's dig into that understanding core features section. Starting with, well, privileged access management itself. How's Delinea doing PAM?
Okay, PAM, at its heart, it's about, managing and controlling those powerful privileged accounts. It's about implementing least privilege principles consistently across the board. And of course, monitoring and recording what happens during privileged sessions for audits, for security investigations.
Governing the keys to the kingdom, basically.
That's okay.
And then there's secrets management. How does that add to security beyond just the PAM stuff?
Secrets management tackles things like credentials, API keys, other kinds of secrets. Essentially, anything an application or a service needs to authenticate to something else. The really crucial part here is its ability to automate the rotation of those secrets and manage the access controls around them.
Okay, automated rotation, that raises a question.
Yeah.
How exactly does that boost security? What problem is that solving for security teams?
It's a huge security boost because it changes those credentials regularly without needing a human to do it. Think about it. If a secret gets compromised somehow, automated rotation drastically shrinks the time window where an attacker can actually use it. It becomes invalid pretty quickly.
Okay.
It solves that massive headache of static secrets credentials that just sit there unchanged for months or even years, becoming juicy targets. Plus, it cuts down on human error and the sheer operational slog of manually changing secrets everywhere.
Yeah, I can see that being a huge benefit. Okay, so managing the secrets themselves is one thing. How does Delinea help control who gets access to what, especially as these environments just keep growing?
Right, that falls under Identity and Access Management, or IAM. IAM lets you implement role-based access control, RBAC.
RBAC, okay.
And it integrates smoothly with the identity providers you probably already have, like Azure AD, Okta, maybe older stuff like LDAP. The goal is making sure users have precisely the access they need for their job, no more, no less.
Based on their role.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, privileged remote access. This section lists some really interesting capabilities, especially that VPN-less access. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, this is pretty innovative. It allows you to launch secure remote sessions, think SSH for command line, RDP for graphical desktops, directly from a web browser without needing a VPN.
No VPN. How?
Well, it also deploys without needing extra software on the target machines. It uses agentless session recording for audits, and the end user doesn't need a special client, just an HTML5 capable browser. But the key phrase they use is zero impact on customer security posture with no inbound firewall rules required.
Whoa, okay. Zero impact on security posture sounds. Well, almost too good to be true. No inbound firewall rules. How does that work technically? Other remote access solutions often add complexity or open things up.
The design principle, as I understand it, is that connections are initiated outbound from your network, usually through an on-premises connector component. It doesn't require you to open inbound ports on your firewall, which is the traditional way remote access often works.
So it flips the model.
Exactly. It avoids exposing your internal network directly to the internet to enable that access. It essentially builds a secure tunnel, but without needing that full, often complex VPN setup. It's a big security win.
That is a significant advantage. Okay, what about privilege control for servers? How does that fit in?
This takes those zero trust and least privilege ideas and applies them directly onto the servers themselves, Windows, Linux, Unix. It can enforce multi-factor authentication, MFA right at the server login, or even when someone tries to elevate their privileges on the server.
Like using sudo on Linux.
Precisely. And it hardens the privileges so you get really granular tracking of exactly who did what on the server. It's about making sure that even once someone is logged in, their permissions are still tightly controlled and everything they do is auditable.
That makes sense. Then there's identity threat protection. That sounds very proactive. How does it actually defend against identity attacks?
It really is on the cutting edge. This feature actively looks for identity misconfigurations like overly broad permissions, and also anomalous behavior.
Love what kind of behavior?
Like, say, an account suddenly trying to access resources it's never touched before, or logging in from a weird location. It can visualize the access pathways identities have across different systems, which makes spotting potential vulnerabilities much easier. And then, crucially, it can automate responses to these threats.
Automate responses, like blocking access.
Yeah, it can take recommended actions or fully automate things like disabling an account, forcing a password reset, or triggering an alert. The idea is to mitigate those identity risks before they lead to a full breach, especially ones that rely on stolen or misused credentials.
Very cool. And extending that idea to the cloud. Privilege control for cloud entitlements. Cloud access is notoriously tricky.
Yeah, and incredibly dynamic. This feature is vital for managing that cloud access sprawl. It helps organizations right-size cloud permissions, giving enough access for productivity but limiting risk. It finds misconfigurations, tries to normalize how privileges work across different clouds.
Like AWS versus Azure versus GCP.
Exactly, and maybe the most important part. It discovers identities and entitlements in what the guide calls constantly changing complex cloud infrastructures.
That's the key phrase, isn't it? Things change so fast in the cloud.
Right. Resources spin up, spin down. Traditional audits can barely keep up. This aims to provide a continuous, near real-time view of who has access to what, where, and when in the cloud.
Okay, finally, they mentioned the Delinea marketplace and a next-gen mobile application. What do those bring to the table?
The marketplace is essentially a hub for Delinea's own add-on applications, integrations with partner technologies, and various utilities. It's about extending the platform's ecosystem.
And the mobile app.
That's focused on convenience and secure access on the go. Things like simplified push notifications for approving MFA requests, an intuitive interface, support for biometrics like fingerprint or face unlock, making security less painful for admins and users alike.
Okay, so we've got the features, how they tackle common security problems. How does an organization actually deploy this thing? Are there options?
Yep. Two main routes, really, depending on your setup and preferences. First is the cloud-based platform. You use Delinea's SaaS offering. It's generally quick to deploy, and you configure your integrations with cloud identity providers there.
Software as a service.
Yep.
Straightforward. And what if you need something more on-prem or you have specific hybrid needs?
For that, there's what they call an on-premises bridge box. This means installing some Delinea components yourself. There's a connector and a distributed engine that go on a Windows server.
Okay.
And if you need the remote access solution as part of it, the remote access engine, or PRA, goes on a Linux server. Interestingly, even for this on-prem setup, they still quote that 45 minutes deployment time after you've got the basic virtual machines ready.
Still pretty fast, even with on-prem components. Speaks to maybe a streamlined install process.
Teams like it.
So once it's deployed, either way, what are those critical first steps of configuration? The guide mentions another 30 to 60 minutes to get the basic security posture right. What are the absolute must-dos then?
The guide really focuses on two main areas right after deployment. First, user and role management. This is where you go beyond the initial setup and really refine those roles and permissions, strictly applying that principle of least privilege we talked about.
Dialing things back, being specific.
Yeah. Exactly. Second is policy setup. Configuring your authentication policies, definitely enabling MFA everywhere, maybe setting up adaptive access rules based on risk, and critically, making sure session monitoring and logging are properly configured and sending data where it needs to go.
So lock down roles, set up strong authentication, and make sure you can see what's happening.
Those are the non-negotiable first steps for a solid foundation.
And to wrap it all up, what are the absolute startup PAM security best practices the guide hammers home? What's the core advice for you, the listener, to act on immediately for starting with confidence?
Yeah, the guide is super clear on this. 3 key things. 1, enable multi-factor authentication, MFA, everywhere possible, no excuses. 2, regularly audit and rotate privileged credentials. Even with automation, periodic checks and manual rotations for ultra-sensitive accounts are still wise.
Audit and rotate. Got it.
And 3, set up real-time alerts for any suspicious activity, especially unauthorized access attempts. Don't wait for a weekly report. Know immediately if something looks wrong.
MFA, audit, rotate, real-time alerts. Seems like a solid starting point.
Absolutely. Those 3 practices are the bedrock for a strong PAM implementation right out of the gate.
Well, this deep dive, I think it's given us a really solid grounding in modern PAM, specifically through the lens of this Delinea guide. From understanding that initial setup, the core functions, to hitting those key security practices early, Hopefully it empowers you, our listener, to approach this area with a bit more confidence and clarity, whether you're looking at new tools or just trying to improve what you have.
Yeah, and if we pull back to that bigger picture, Delaney talks about that unified and comprehensive perspective across a constantly changing complex cloud infrastructure. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What does that truly mean for a company trying to stay secure against threats that just keep evolving? How does having that single view actually give you the agility you need for whatever challenges come next, especially as new tech, new threats pop up all the time?
That's a great question to leave things on. How does that unified view translate into real-world agility against the unknown? Something to definitely mull over.